Welcome to the session on information handling, block, column and bar graph. The objectives for this session are learning how to draw block or column graphs and read and interpret graphs. A bar graph and column graph are essentially the same thing. Both provide a graphical representation of data using rectangles or bars of equal width to compare quantities. Bar graphs are drawn vertically or horizontally with equal spacing between them. Graph paper is used to draw block or column graphs. Let's take a look at an example of how to draw a column graph. The information for the means 50 children use to travel to school is given in the table on your screen. We will present this data as a column graph. This is a graph of the data. Let's see how the graph was put together. The OX and OY axes are perpendicular and intersect at 0. Here's the y-axis and here's the x-axis. The label means of travelling is on the x-axis as shown, and the label number of students is on the y-axis. 1 square represents 2 students. So 20 students use the bicycle, 16 students use the bus, 4 students use the car, and 10 students walk. The widths of the bars are the same. Let's now take a look at another example. 5 students received the amounts of pocket money shown on your screen. We are required to present this information using a column graph. Pause the video and have a go. Press play when you're ready to view the solution. So here's our column graph. Let's show how this graph was produced. The OX and OY axes are perpendicular and intersecting at 0. Here's the x-axis and here's the y-axis. The label, names of students, is on the x-axis as shown, and the label pocket money in pounds is on the y-axis. 1 square represents 5 pounds. The widths of the bars are all the same. As you can see from the graph, we have that Alison received £25, Sarah received £35, Adam received £45, Gayatri received £15, and Chu Hua received £35. We will now learn to read a simple bar graph in horizontal and vertical form. Let's look at an example to help us with this. The following graph shows the data obtained when a group of children were asked what their favourite sport was. Let's now look at the following question. How many children liked each sport? 6 children liked hockey, 8 children liked cricket, 10 children liked football, 4 children liked tennis, and 8 children liked badminton. Which was the most popular sport? Out of all these bars, the bar for football, or the bar associated with football, is the longest. Therefore, football was the most popular sport. Which was the least popular sport? Out of all these bars, the shortest bar is the one associated with tennis. Therefore, tennis was the least popular sport. Now let's take a look at another example. The following graph shows the marks obtained by a student at the end of each day in her spelling test. Specify the marks on each day. The score for Monday was 50. The score for Tuesday was 40. The score for Wednesday was 10. And the score for Thursday was 25. Which day had the highest mark? Out of all these bars, the longest bar is the bar which is associated with Monday. Therefore, Monday had the highest mark. Which day had the lowest mark? Out of all these bars, the shortest bar is the one that's associated with Wednesday. Therefore, Wednesday had the lowest mark. Now let's take a look at another example. The following graph shows the marks obtained in monthly tests by a student. Interpret the graph. Pause the video and take a look at this graph for a moment. See what you can interpret and what you can observe. Press play when you're ready to view the solutions. So let's interpret and observe. The May score was 100, the April score was 50, the March score was 75, the February score was 150, and the January score was 25. The maximum marks were those in the February test. The minimum marks were in the January tests, and the minimum marks are of course 25. The difference between the maximum and minimum is 125. There are many more interpretations and observations that you might be able to make. These are just some examples. Now let's have a go at one more example. The graph on your screen shows the savings in rupees of 5 children. You are required to interpret this graph. Pause the video and have a go. Press play when you're ready to view the interpretations. So let's interpret and observe. We can see from the graph that Irtiza saved 450 rupees. Maryam saved 350 rupees. Shupi saved 250 rupees. Ali saved 400 rupees. And Laiba saved 450 rupees. The maximum savings were Irtiza's and Laiba's. The minimum savings were Shupi's. And of course these were 250 rupees. The difference between Ali and Maryam's savings was 400 minus 350, which is 50 rupees. This brings us to the end of this session. If you have understood its contents, you should be able to draw block or column graphs and read and interpret graphs. Thank you very much for listening. To understand this topic in greater depth, do attempt the exercises in your textbook related to this topic.